This is the Rotolite Titan X1, and it might just be the best all-around light I've ever used. Let's get undone.
Gerald Undone. He's crazy.
What's happening, everybody? I'm Gerald Undone, and you miss 100% of the shots. You don't white balance. Okay, as usual, some disclosure. All promotional consideration for this video was provided by Rotolite. That includes the production costs as well as this entire rental kit, which includes the light, the ballast, the V-mount adapter, and the batteries, this whole massive carrying case, as well as the wireless transmitter that I have here for triggering this as a flash. And all said and done, this is several $1,000s worth of gear and expenses. Now, I don't allow edits to my video, and in fact, Rotolite hasn't even seen this video before it's published, but I wanted you to be aware of the financial investment they made to this video. But it's not gonna stop me from giving them a hard time for the things I don't like. I've also enlisted the help of Tommy Calloway for 2 reasons. One, he beat me to posting a video on this light, so I wanna give him some credit. Go watch his video if you haven't yet. But 2, I think a second opinion is a good thing to recruit when doing a sponsored video, so I'll be throwing to him periodically throughout. But speaking of giving Rotolite a hard time, I'm happy to report that there are very few things I could find to complain about with this fixture. It's expensive, but it's also extremely well made. We're talking solid metal construction, a perfect yoke, and attachment mechanisms that are the best I've seen. So for example, with the barn doors, you can just push these 2 release buttons and the entire thing just comes off really easily and it clicks back in the exact same way. And the power ballast can be locked into the back of the fixture using this turnstile plate that's strong enough to support the entire light if you prefer just to clamp it using this super clamp onto your C-stand or something. And then it's locked in place like that. And I know Tommy Calloway is particularly fond of this feature.
Hey Gerald, thanks for having me on. I think it's extremely robust, and the only other light that I've seen implement something like this is the Velvet Light Evo 1, and in my review of that one, I specifically mentioned I wished that other lights would implement a similar locking mechanism to mount accessories. It's so convenient that I wish other lighting manufacturers would adopt a similar mechanism, or if this would just become the standard. That's how much I like it. It's one of the best implementations of this type of mounting mechanism that I've seen. Because not only can you mount the power supply very easily to the fixture, you can also mount the super clamp used to mount the power supply to a C-stand to the back of the power supply. And the whole thing is robust enough to where you can mount the entire fixture with the super clamp and the power supply attached to anything you want, and you can ditch the yoke.
Alternatively, it can be run on battery power using 2 V-mount batteries via this optional V-lock adapter. And when doing this, your output remains consistent, so you don't lose any intensity when switching from mains to battery power, which is great. The cords connecting everything are robust and definitely inspire confidence. The only thing to be aware of, though, is that the lead running from the power adapter to the mains power is not very long, so you'll definitely need your own extension cord or stinger to position this light wherever you want. Where this light really shines, though, in my opinion, is with the control interface. This is my favorite control scheme of any light I've seen. First off, it has 3 big dials that correspond intuitively to the item that is displayed directly above them, and these knobs are precise and satisfying to use. Alternatively, though, the entire display is a touchscreen, so you can just easily swipe to adjust your intensity, temperature, or hue. Then there's touch buttons on the side for entering the different sections of the menu or for changing operating modes, and everything is laid out nicely and is very easy to operate. If I had one complaint about the thing, though, it would be that the touch D-pad on this side doesn't feel as responsive or intuitive, and quite frankly, probably doesn't even need to exist. I'm not taking too many points off here for it not working well because you really don't need it, but I did find it strange how much worse these buttons were to operate compared to the rest of the interface. Now, speaking of the interface, let's go over the different operations. This light can do everything. Seriously. It has your typical bicolor mode, as well as RGBW, HSI, and X and Y for dialing in the color you prefer using whichever method you favor. It has a fantastic collection of emulated filters from all the major brands, and a full array of lighting effects which can be timed or triggered manually, including one effect that has Tommy Calloway pretty excited.
The way they've implemented the neon sign in the Rotolite Titan, I haven't really seen any other light implement neon sign as one of the special effects, and the way they've done it just really feels like a neon sign.
Interestingly, the fireworks effect is grayed out, but I'm told this will be unlocked in an upcoming firmware update, which is easy to do on this device. And the effects can also be triggered via DMX or wireless DMX. This light can also be operated as a strobe, which can be triggered using either its native wireless from the Rotolite transmitter from Elinchrom, or you can use a third-party transmitter, but you'll have to connect the matching third-party receiver physically to the light. Now, I've tested the functionality of this a little bit, and it's fine. It operates reasonably well, but as usual with continuous lights that can also flash, it feels a bit underpowered for the money compared to what you can get from a dedicated strobe. It's pretty wild that you can do full color flash with high-speed sync. I don't know if you guys even seen that in the video. And it's great that it doubles as a modeling light in that scenario, which is very handy. So as a value add, this functionality is an appreciated inclusion, and it definitely saves you from needing to gel your strobes if you just want cool light and color effects. But I wouldn't buy this if flash is the primary function. Get this as a video light and enjoy the flash as a side benefit. But again, full color high-speed sync is pretty awesome. It also features the fine control for the dimming mode and curve, as well as the ability to maintain consistent output across color temperatures and several fan profiles. When the fan is set to auto or stealth, I was quite pleased with the fan noise from this light, and at lower output settings, it stayed effectively silent for long durations. In fact, it's been on right now. If we go back to the regular mode here, this is it at, 40% power, and it's not making any noise. If you run it at 100% for a while, it does start to kick the fan up, but even then it's not too loud. It's quieter than some other lights in the studio right now. All right, now let's jump back to Tommy so he can tell us about his favorite thing about this panel and probably the coolest thing about this light.
Probably most obvious favorite feature of the Titan is the electronic diffusion. Not only because it's beautiful to watch being used, it also shows that we've reached a level of technological innovation to actually use something like this in a useful product. I've always heard of privacy glass and seen it in TV shows, but actually having a product that uses it in such a unique way is it's very interesting to me.
So this panel implements a technology Rotolight is calling Smart Soft Diffusion, which is an advanced liquid crystal film that is electrically charged to change how the particles in that layer spread light, including changing the beam angle from 65 degrees up to around 150 degrees at full diffusion. Now, it's important to realize that this doesn't change the size of the source or your proximity to it, so it's not really going to change the softness in the sense of how the shadows emerge from or lay across your subject. What it will do, though, is eliminate the multi-shadowing effect that's created by LED panels, as well as give a slightly more diffuse glow on the edges of your subject, both of which are very useful accomplishments. And most impressively, they claim that they can do this while maintaining color quality and neutrality as you increase or decrease the diffusion. Very cool feature. Lastly, let's talk a bit about color quality and output. Actually, let's start with validating Rotolight's claim that the diffusion doesn't change the light quality much. So I busted out the Sekonic here and I measured it at 100% diffusion, 50%, and 0%. Now, first off, the light at full power with no diffusion, you can get about 10,000 lux, just over 10,000 lux, sometimes closer to 11,000 at 1 meter, which is just maybe slightly above the Aputure P300C, but comparable. And because it's bicolor, that ranges from 3,000 to 10,000, you're going to get the brightest output around 4,000 to 5,000 lux. And then obviously it tapers off at both edges down to maybe like 8,000 and so on. Now, when you have the diffusion at 100%, it does cut your output quite a bit. Of course, it also changes sort of the beam angle, but I was getting maybe about half the output, a little bit more than half than I was getting with zero diffusion. And there was a little bit of a change in the color quality. Not a huge amount. I would say that their claim is pretty close. Like I think my temperature only changed like 50 Kelvin, which is within a margin of error. But my green magenta did change consistently about 0.2. I was actually getting 0.0 green magenta with no diffusion, and then when I turned the diffusion to 100%, it added a 0.2 magenta, which again isn't terrible and it's not going to make that big of a difference. However, if you put the diffusion at about 50%, which looks like this, it's kind of like that, about halfway in, then the power loss isn't near as severe. It's not like half the difference. You actually keep quite a bit of your output, and the color quality is pretty much perfectly maintained. So 50% diffusion might be the sweet spot if you kind of want just the best of everything in one setting. As far as their color temperatures, they're very consistent with what they measure. What I got on the Sekonic was very close. Again, within 50 to 100 Kelvin was the farthest off, so that's great. And the color quality is all good as well. 96 CRI, 97 TLCI, and I got a 72 SSI for daylight and an 83 SSI for tungsten. So no issues at all when it comes to color quality. And most importantly, the claims that they put in their charts are actually quite accurate. But let me shine it on my face so you can see how it looks on skin. So to conclude, this is an excellent light. In fact, in many ways, it's the best I've seen. The build is incredible, the barn doors are excellent, the controls, the powering options, and the versatility are all exceptional. I suppose the only con here is that if you do make sort of the perfect light and cram every piece of functionality into it, that comes at a cost premium. And as I said in the beginning of this video, this light is expensive. It's regularly $4,000, and it's still a bit cheaper than the equivalent lights from ARRI, and I truly do believe that you get what you pay for here, but I'll be the first to admit that it's likely going to go beyond the budget of many of my viewers. However, it is worth noting that Rotolite is offering a hefty $1,000 launch promotion discount until the end of April 2021, and if you order through their website and use the coupon code UNDONE-TITAN while choosing the light and battery adapter bundle, they'll give you the $350 battery adapter, this one right here, for free. So it's collectively $1,350 in savings if you're interested in getting this light soon. But either way, it was fun to look at this new panel from Rotolite. I always enjoy tinkering with products that are best in class or that bring cool new features to this space. And the Titan X1 is a shining example of that. Get it? Shining. Because it's a light. And attachment mechanisms that are the best I've seen. The barn doors, the barn doors, that's strong enough to even support the entire light with the super clamp here, clamp, fun colored lights to even support the entire light from the super clamp. If you just clamp, why do I keep saying super clamp? Just goes in. This is sketchy. Don't put your light on a little tripod like this. I'm only doing this to make it easy to present. Consistent output across color temperatures and several pan profiles. Several pan profiles. Oh, geez. But that's going to be it for me. I hope you found this video entertaining, or at least helpful. And if you did, make sure to leave the old thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. But if you did not find this video helpful or entertaining, try setting the playback speed to 75%. All right. I'm done.